Good evening, and I'm back again, this time with a very different subject. The subject today is this most ancient of questions, who am I? And we will investigate this subject, this question, in the light of the Upanishads this evening and tomorrow again at the same time. So this is the question we will be looking at. Vedanta is basically the teachings of the Upanishads. Vedanta nama Upanishad pramanam. The definition of Vedanta is the philosophy based on the teachings of the Upanishads is Vedanta. I think most of you are familiar to some extent with Vedanta and the Upanishads. The Upanishads present the highest philosophical teachings of the Vedas. They are among the most ancient texts known to mankind. There is a long list of Upanishads. In fact, in one of the Upanishads called Muktika Upanishad, we find a list of 108 Upanishads. But among all of these Upanishads, there are some 10 or 11 major, within quotes, major Upanishads. Major, why major? Because Adi Shankaracharya, some 1200 or 1300 years ago, chose these Upanishads to write his commentaries, Bhashyam, on these Upanishads. And these Upanishads basically have become the central texts of Vedanta. So the Vedanta movement you see all over the world, these Upanishads have become the source texts. Shankaracharya interpreted these Upanishads in a non-dualistic fashion, so his teaching is called Advaita Vedanta. That is the context in which we will be discussing all this today. Among all the Upanishads, especially among these major Upanishads, there is one Upanishad which is regarded, which is the smallest of all the Upanishads and also regarded as the toughest, and that is called the Mandukya Upanishad. There is a saying that Mumukshunam Vimuktaye Mandukyam Ekameva Alam. For the liberation of those who want spiritual enlightenment, Mumukshu, those who want mukti, for them, the Mandukya Upanishad alone is sufficient. So if you read this Upanishad and you are lucky enough to understand what it means and realize what it means as a living reality in your own life, you are free. You don't need anything else. So for liberation, the Mandukya itself is sufficient for those who want liberation, for those who want moksha or spiritual enlightenment. It is the smallest Upanishad. The only 12 mantras are there in this Upanishad. It is found in the Atharva Veda. You all know that there are 4 Vedas, Rig Veda, Yajur Veda, Sama Veda and Atharva Veda. In the Atharva Veda you find this Upanishad. Among other Upanishads you find this Mandukya Upanishad. Only 12 mantras. So it's like a small chili which is very hot. Sometimes it's, in Bengali they say Dhani Lanka. A small chili which is very hot. In this Mandukya Upanishad, the most important mantra, the central mantra, central text is what you have in your hands now, the handout. The 7th mantra. The 7th mantra of the Mandukya Upanishad. This is in fact the core mantra of the entire Upanishad, of these 12 mantras. And this gives a direct answer, the highest possible answer that you can find in our scriptures, in Vedanta. And I have not found any more sophisticated, more profound answer in any of the literatures of the world religions or philosophies which I have come across at least. At least I have not found myself, nor has anybody reported anything more profound than this. So when I was given an opportunity to talk to you, I decided, what the heck, let me go for the toughest text. Let's see what happens. We'll take it up as a challenge. Normally we don't use this in a general gathering. It's usually reserved for those who have studied Vedanta for a long time, and only then you take up this one. But pay attention, and I think we'll all derive a great deal of benefit from today's lecture and tomorrow's also. Tomorrow I'll go further, a little deeper into this text. The Mandukya Upanishad was commented upon by Gaudapada Acharya. Gaudapada Acharya is the guru of Shankaracharya's guru. So Gaudapada Acharya's disciple was Govindapada, and Govindapada's disciple was Shankaracharya, Adi Shankaracharya. So in Uttarakhand, in the Himalayas, they say Guru or Dada Guru, grandfather, like that, grand Guru. So Shankara's guru's guru was Gaudapada Acharya, and he wrote verses on the Mandukya Upanishad. These verses are called Mandukya Karika. So nowadays when you look at the Mandukya Upanishad, you usually find them in a book called Mandukya Karika. It includes the Mandukya Upanishad plus Gaudapada Acharya's commentary on the Mandukya Upanishad in the form of verses called Karika, plus Shankaracharya's commentary in prose, in Sanskrit prose, on the original Upanishad as well as the Karikas of Gaudapada Acharya. So this is the book, Mandukya Karika. It has 4 chapters. The first chapter incorporates the Mandukya Upanishad, the original text, as well as certain commentaries given by Gaudapada Acharya. And this mantra is found in the first chapter, in the Upanishad itself. It's the 7th mantra. We will come back to this at the end of the talk. When I learned communication long way back before I joined the order, my communication teacher told me, you should start all talks with a story. So I'll start this talk with a story. About 10 years ago, in the Himalayas, in the high Himalayas in Gangotri, I was staying there for about a month, just like a traditional monk, no ashrama, no school, college, Ramakrishna Mission, nothing, just staying in a log cabin, begging for my food in the Anna Kshetra, and meditating and studying. And staying in the log cabin means not like this. There's no electricity, no furniture, nothing, just rajai, kambal. On the ground there is a blanket, and 2 or 3 blankets you can put on yourself. And it's so dark in there at this time because you cannot go out. It's very cold and dark outside. Nowadays they have electricity, but nowadays they even have mobile phones. They have put up a tower nearby, so you can signal there. I saw that happening, by the way. Anyhow, at that time it was so dark. At this time in the cabin it would be so dark that if I wave my eyes to wave my hands before my eyes, and I could not make out whether my eyes are open or closed. You cannot see anything. Only sometimes you can see sparks jumping out of your woolen clothes in static electricity from the kambal to your sweater. But anyway, so that was the situation. One day after Bhiksha, I was taking a walk with some of the monks there with whom I had made friends. And this monk, he told me a story. So you can see the setting in the Himalayan through the forest tracks. There are Deodar trees are there, pine trees also. And you go through that, you're taking a walk around 4:30 or 5. Dinner is at 4 o'clock. So, because afterwards it's too dark afterwards. And this monk told me a story. The story goes like this. Raja Janak Raja, one day he was asleep, very peacefully sleeping, and suddenly the sentry came running and said, I'll use a mixture of Hindi and English, but I'll translate into English also, because the story was told to me in Hindi. Maharaj ji, uthiye, get up, what happened? The enemy has attacked, we must fight a war. So Janak Raja immediately got up, summoned his generals and his soldiers, and he went off to battle, put on his armor and sword and everything, took his sword and everything and went off to battle. And there was a fierce battle in which Janak Raja was defeated. He was wounded, he was captured by the enemy, dragged before the enemy king, and the enemy king said, Tumhara rajya ab hamara rajya hai. I have captured your kingdom. Now I will not kill you because you are a king, I will exile you. You get out of this kingdom, it's mine now. What could poor Janak Raja do? He was tired and exhausted and bleeding and depressed. Somehow he started walking, and people in what was his own capital earlier, they refused to give him water or food because they were afraid. They said, the new king is very cruel. If they know we have helped you, he will punish us. After walking for 2 days, he came to the border of his kingdom. Then he crossed the border to the next kingdom, and he found food was being served to poor people, beggars. So there was a long line, and I think they were serving rice or khichdi or something, and a big handa was there. So he joined that line, And as he advanced in the queue, when he came up to the place where it was being served, at that time it was finished, no more food. And he could not take it anymore, he was feeling terribly depressed and tired and exhausted and in pain. And that person who was giving food, he said, just this starch which is lying at the bottom of the handa, that is there, I'll give it to you if you want it. He said, okay, give me that. And he gave him a bowl, filled that starch in there and gave it to him. Before he could lift it, trembling to his lips, a kite, cheel, was circling up there. It dived and hit that bowl, knocked it out of his hands, and that bowl went rolling in the dust, and whatever was there was spilled in the dust, and Janak Raja could not take it anymore. He was so overcome with misery and sadness, he fell down on the ground. Ha ha kar karte hue, as he said, the sadhu. Ha ha kar karte hue. Ha ha kar in Sanskrit, ha kar, Hindi ha kar, not English ha ha. So it means just the opposite. And when he was crying, alas, suddenly he heard a voice, Maharaj ji, kya hua? What happened? Sir? And he woke up, his chest pounding, covered in sweat, sitting on the bed. And the sentry has come, Maharaj, you shouted. What happened? So it was a dream. The whole thing was a dream, a nightmare. Nothing has happened. But because Janak Raja was very, he had a very analytical mind. So he looked up and he said, wo sach ya ye sach? Is that true or is this true? Is the dream true or is this waking world, is it true? Wo sach ya ye sach? Sentry was taken aback. What is this? He called the minister. Sir, what is wrong? Wo sach ya ye sach? They called the queen. The queen thought, this old man, what has happened to you? His wife came, what happened to you? Wo sach ya ye sach? There's only one thing he's saying. Wo sach ya ye sach? Nobody could understand this. Next day in the morning in the marketplace, it's already trick problems. People are talking in hush hush. And Ashtavakra Muni, the great Jnani, he's walking, he has come to the city and he heard this is what is happening. Now he was a Jnani, so he knew what has happened. He decided, I will go and visit Janak Raja. And he went to the court and he asked Janak Raja, kaise hain? Maharaj ji, how are you? And Raja said, wo sach hai, ye sach. That's what he's doing all day, sitting in the court, surrounded by the queen and the ministers and the army and the generals and everything. And I'm sort of imagining, this is not part of the story, but I'm imagining, the officers coming with files, please sign, wo sach hai, ye sach. No work is getting done. When he said this to Ashtavakra Muni, same thing, wo sach hai, ye sach. Now Ashtavakra Muni knows what he is referring to. So he said, Janak Raja, when you were rolling in the dust, bleeding, tired, defeated, depressed, crying on that ground, what he is referring to only Janak Raja knows and he knows. Nobody else understands what is this defeat and all this. At that time, was all this there? Your power, your wealth, your queen, your generals, your minister, all these things were there or not? Janak Raja said, no, none of this was there. Only defeat and depression and sadness and misery. And now you are sitting here in the court, surrounded by your courtiers and all this power and wealth. That defeat, that depression, those wounds, that terrible situation, is it here? The king said, no, it's not here. Na, yahan to nahi hai wo. Then Ashtavakra Muni said, to Raja, na ye sach, na wo sach. Neither this is true, nor that is true. This was not there in that terrible dream. And today you are in this situation, you are calling it a dream, that is not here. Then Janak Raja was shocked. The next question which would come to all of us, he's saying, to kuch bhi sach nahi, is it nothing true then? Then the Muni said, jab wo aap wahan par the, on that battlefield, on that place where you were rolling in the dust, defeated, crying, were you there or not? Tab wahan aap the ya nahi? Did you see that or not? Yes, I was there. I saw that. That may be false, but I have experienced it. It may be false. I woke up and I say it is false, but I have experienced it. Or idhar up, where you are now sitting in the court, idhar bhi aap hai ki nahi? Are you sitting here and experiencing this or not? He says, yes, I am experiencing it. To Raja, na ye sach, na wo sach, but tum hi sach. Neither that is true, nor this is true, but you the witness of both situations. You alone are the truth. This is a story. The rest of the lecture, we are going to struggle with this concept and try to understand what is the meaning of this story. The meaning of this story and the meaning of this mantra are exactly the same, but we will see. We will try to understand it. At least intellectually, let us get a grasp on what they are saying. Whether you will be convinced or not, that comes later. But understanding comes first. What he is saying is, I, who am I? The ego. You can put it this way. It's a jumbo duster. Okay. You can call it the knower also. Knower. Is it visible or it's too small? Too small. Okay, I'll write a little large. Now you have the waker. Janak Raja, when he was awake, you all of us, we are the waker now. We are in the waking state, hopefully. Some may be drifting off. And this waker, what does he or she, what does he experience? The world, the waking world. I am just giving this name. The Sanskrit name would be Jagrat Prapancha. So the Sanskrit term is Prapancha. In Hindi also we say Prapanch, ye sab Prapanch hai. The term comes from Pancha. Pancha means 5. The idea was there are 5 elements out of which the world is constructed. Prapancha Prakrishtena Pancha. By the elaboration or mixture of these 5, the entire universe is constructed. Anyhow, the general idea is Prapancha. So the waker sees this waking world. And when Janak Raja was dreaming, or when we dream, he was the dreamer. And he sees a dream world. And there is another state which we all go through, where we are neither awake nor dreaming, absolutely in deep sleep. No dreams are there. Even modern science accepts it. Neuroscience also says that's dreamless sleep. One is REM sleep, you could talk about rapid eye movement sleep, another one is dreamless sleep. So this dreamless sleep, we can call it the sleeper, not the railway sleeper, there's a sleeper, the one who is in deep sleep. And we cannot say a sleep world, we can say a sleep world would be sleep blankness. What do we experience in deep sleep? Nothing, just blankness. Even I am sleeping, that kind of a thought also is there, no thought at all. So we can call it a sleep blankness. What this Upanishad tells you is that you are not the waker, you are not the dreamer, you are not the sleeper. What you are, the real you, is a fourth state, which is called Turiyam or Turiya. Now don't be scared about this term. Turiya simply means number 4. That's all. Turiya means 4. Chaturtham. The mantra here does not use the word Turiyam. That word was introduced later by Gaudapada Acharya in his commentaries. But the word mantra uses the word, if you will notice, Chaturtham, 4th. And Turiyam. This is all that the mantra is trying to tell you. All that Ashtavakra Muni was trying to tell Janak Raja. That what you saw, the defeated Janak Raja, in the world where he was defeated, he was expelled from his kingdom, he was suffering in the neighborhood kingdom, and lying on the ground, and all the circumstances of that world, the dream world, and he who was dreaming there, both are not real. But there is a fourth one who was watching that. Right now, you are the waker, I am the waker. This is not our real nature, but there is a fourth one who is watching this waker and the waking state, illumining both. And similarly in dream state. This is the basic idea. I will explain it with the help of an example. What is the reality? The reality or the real you, answer to this question is, who am I? According to this mantra is, you are this Turiya, the fourth. It's like roll number 1, roll number 2, roll number 3 and roll number 4. The Upanishad begins with this statement, Soyam Atma Chatushpat. Who am I? You have 4 aspects. You have 4 aspects. The Upanishad begins in the first mantra. The 4 aspects are these 4. Among these 4 aspects, 3 are false, 1 alone is real. 3 are false, 1 alone is real. Now the interesting thing is, the Upanishad says this is real, this is who you are, the answer to the question, who am I? But we are not aware of anything like this. If you talk about the waker and the waking world, we are aware of that. This is what we know, what we are right now experiencing. You are the waker, Mr. or Mrs. so-and-so or Miss so-and-so or Swami so-and-so experiencing this classroom. This is the waker experiencing a waking world. This is what this is. And when tonight I'll go and sleep and dream, I have certain experiences, I will be in that dream also. Then I am the dreamer, I am experiencing a dream world. And when I go into deep sleep, blankness, nothing, absolute blankness. There you can call it the sleeper and experiencing a sleep blankness. Remember, the sleeper, for example, in the sleep world, there is no external world, no physical body, no mind, nothing, just blankness. That is from a subjective point of view. Be careful, this is your own experience. This is not an objective experience. For example, I remember once one Swami was talking about it and he is saying in the deep sleep, which is called the Sushupti. In deep sleep, there is no experience of the world, there is no body, no mind, only a blankness. Then somebody in the audience asked, what do you mean there is no body and mind? In the mosquito net, under that we can see the fellow is sleeping, 80 or 90 kilos, nicely snoring. How come there is no body, you are saying? From objectively from your point of view, but you look at it from the person's point of view, who is asking this question, who am I? From his own experience, your own experience, in the deep sleep, daily we experience this. That no experience of world, no experience of body, no experience of mind also. Even the thought, I am sleeping, that's not there. If you say, I am sleeping, then you are not sleeping. And it's not deep sleep. So that state we all experience. And apart from it, they talk about a Turiya, or Turiyam, whichever. The fourth. How ought we to understand this? These 3 we can understand, but this one is not very clear. What is this one? Let's look at it this way. Suppose we have an ornament made, say, a bracelet or a bangle and necklace and a ring. Somebody tells you, these are all golden ornaments. Somebody tells you, these are just names and forms. The reality is the gold. The reality is the gold. It's a golden bangle, golden necklace or golden ring, but the reality is not the bangle, necklace or ring. The real substance is gold. And there's an interesting story about this. One Sethji, whose business was not going well, he went to take some loan, girvi rakhna. So he took his Ganesha and put it in the pawn shop and he said, you give me some loan. And the jeweler, he weighed it